Assalamu alaikum. Let me introduce myself. My name is Niken Revelina, NPM 234111094. I will here convey tax reformation in Indonesia. Tax reformation is the process of renewing a taxation system that includes changes in policies, regulations, tax rates, and administrative modernization, with the main purposes of 1. Increasing state revenue to finance development. 2. Broadening the tax base to include more taxpayers and taxable objects. 3. Creating a fair and transparent system to improve taxpayer compliance. 4. Simplifying administration to be efficient for both the government and taxpayers. Why is it important? 1. Taxes are the largest source of state revenue in Indonesia, contributing more than 75% of the state budget, APBN. 2. Without reform, tax revenues may stagnate, the tax ratio remains low, and development will be hampered. Third, reform helps the country adapt to global economic changes, digitalization, and cross-border capital mobility. Background of tax reformation in Indonesia. A. Conditions before major reform, pre-1983. 1. Official assessment system. Tax officials calculated taxpayer liabilities, which was prone to corruption and inefficiency. 2. Heavy reliance on the natural resources sector, oil, gas, mining. 3rd, weak tax administration, no integrated database. B. Main challenges. 1. Low tax ratio. Indonesia's tax ratio before the 1983 reform was only around 5 to 6% of GDP. Developing countries average 15 to 20%. 2. Low compliance. Large informal sector left untaxed. High level of tax evasion. 3. Complicated procedures. Filing taxes was difficult, time-consuming, and not nationally integrated. 4. Global economic changes. Rise of international trade and digital economy. 3. Timeline and phases of tax reform in Indonesia. A. Tax reform, 1983. The largest change in Indonesia's tax history. Shift from official assessment. Self-assessment. Taxpayers became responsible for calculating, paying, and reporting their own taxes. B. Tax reform, 1994 and 2000. Adjustments to corporate and individual income tax rates. Expansion of VAT coverage. Strengthening administrative and criminal sanctions. Corporate tax reform, 2008 to 2010. Corporate tax was cut from 30% to 25%. SMEs received incentives, and e-filing was introduced to improve efficiency. D. Tax reform 2016. Tax amnesty. And the amnesty program revealed 4,865 billion Indonesian rupiah in assets and 114 billion Indonesian rupiah in payments, aiming to expand the tax base and boost transparency. E. Tax reform 2020 to 2021. Omnibus Law and Tax Harmonization, UUHPP. This reform introduced major changes. VAT increased from 10% to 11%, with a plan for 12%. The corporate tax rate was cut to 22%, and new taxes were introduced, such as the carbon tax and digital VAT for foreign services. It also integrated the NPWP with the National ID, NIK, to unify taxpayer data. 4th, Fairness and equity tax reform aims to promote fairness by applying progressive tax rates. This ensures that higher-income individuals contribute more based on their ability, helping to reduce economic inequality across society. 5. Key components of recent reforms. Recent reforms cover tax amnesty, UUHPP, carbon tax, and digital VAT. Administration was digitalized, e-filing CRM, and enforcement improved through audits and NPWP NIK integration. 6. Impacts of tax reform. The reforms have had positive effects such as increased revenue, a broader tax base, easier compliance through digital systems, and greater investor confidence. However, moral hazard from repeated amnesties, and a digital divide among taxpayers. 7. Future directions for tax reform. Future reforms will focus on expanding digitalization through AI and big data, increasing sustainability taxes like carbon and plastic taxes, and enhancing global tax cooperation via OECD BEPS 2.0. Efforts to build public trust and improve tax literacy through education will also be prioritized. 8. Conclusion. Tax reform in Indonesia is a long-term effort that requires consistent policy, strong political commitment, and public participation. From the introduction of the self-assessment system in 1983 to the recent focus on digital and environmental taxes, each step strengthens the tax system. Future success depends on both government initiatives and taxpayer awareness.